This time on Hak5, reverse engineering with Crackmes,
unlocking OpenWRT on La Fanera,
the only rock band guitar fix you'll ever need,
network security with inprotect,
plus Iexpress package builder,
the Rock Band drum machine for Windows,
save your online flash videos with vConvert,
and browsing the internet with your calculator.
Interesting.
All that and a whole lot more this time
On Hak5.
Keygens and cracks have been part of like hack culture since I don't know what, like the 300 baud modem. And here to show us all about the cracks, chrisgerling.com.
Thanks for having
That's
me.
your new name. Chris Gerling, and then .com, the second last name.
Yep.
So what are we cracking? What's going on, man?
Well, what we're cracking is the actual practice stuff, the legal stuff that people use to, when they want to do reverse engineering, so they don't have to break the law.
Because winners don't do wares.
Exactly.
You know?
So, kind of stumbled upon it, not stumbled upon, but kind of stumbled across it the other day. We went to Learn Security Online, because my friend Chris Gates runs that, and he posted a thing called Crackme, and I had to look up what Crackme was, because I guess it's an actual...
What's a Crackme?
It's a legal way to practice reverse engineering. Other different programmers create these .exes that you have to supply like a password or some kind of a write your own keygen, or you unlock it and you can win prizes and
Okay, so it sounds very similar to like kind of like a hack war game.
Yes.
Where it's like, brute this box, and there's the other team trying to like secure it and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Okay.
So cool. we stumbled across it here, and this is their website, and just kind of downloaded it here, and I had to actually look up how to go about disassembling it. And I found a program called .NET Reflector.
Okay, so you download the Crackme, and what is the Crackme?
It's just a zip file that has the exe in it.
Okay, and what does that do?
And when you actually open this, it asks for a password.
Oh, okay.
So this is a really simple one. You just
rather than taking something like Hydra and attempting to brute force this, which we know would take forever, we're gonna
use this little program here, and it's called .NET Reflector. And I downloaded it, and I have it in this folder here, and we run it.
So what does .NET Reflector allow us to do?
It pretty much decompiles. I don't think it decompiles you into the exact source code, but it interprets and shows you what the code, what kind of code.
So what the source code of that actual program might be?
Yes.
So what kind of languages does it support then?
I have a little drop down here. IL, C#, Visual Basic, Delphi, MC++, and Chrome. I'm not sure what Chrome is.
I've heard of 3 of those.
Yeah, about the same here.
All right.
So we go in and we open it. This is my exe here, and what it does is it has a bunch of different libraries. It operates under all the .NET frameworks, and there's a couple other ones. And when you open it, it drops it down into your little workspace here. And then it starts to show you everything that's connected to it, all the little things that make up, like all the calls, Visual Basic, for example, in this one. And
so when you say the references, we're actually taking a look at like the DLLs and other resources that it's using within.
Here we go. You're all in the system stuff right here, all the libraries. It won't. I think for some of this stuff it won't actually show because it's not code.
I see.
Per se. But then we go into the different Crackme things, and this is the actual project, I guess. See how?
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so it's a Visual Basic.
It was
project
actually named
folders.
My Project, like default. Very
exactly.
Cool.
So, and there's nothing in here. I already went through those, and I'm not going to bore you with that. So we started hunting around because we weren't real programming experts, and we're just kind of looking for stuff that, directs us to where the password might be.
All right.
So we start going through the Crackme itself, and we're looking around, and we see like PSW box, submit button, things like that.
Password box. There you go.
And then I think if I go here and disassemble it, and it'll pop up window, and there's the actual.
So that's the source code.
This is the actual code that makes this happen.
Now, is that the actual source code that was written?
I don't think it's what's written. This is what it it
reverse interprets it as.
Yes.
I see.
Yeah. So when interpreted languages, the compiler, takes it down and makes it talk to the machine.
So how do
Yep.
we find the password?
Well, we start looking through here, and we're like, okay, PSW box. We see submit click stuff down here and here, submit button. So we kind of said, well, submit click. That must be what happens when you click submit. So we clicked on it, and there it is.
There's a very simple statement. It's just a if statement and void submit. Okay, so that's the function, and
Yep.
it's
and we go
if
across.
if password text equals too easy.
Yep, in lead speak.
In lead speak, of course. So what happens when we go ahead and plug that into our
So we take our little box here and we... Oh, can't do enter, I guess. There we go. And then it just says email Chris G at Learn Security Online to win.
So yeah, you're a winner.
You're a winner.
Rock on, 1980s high five.
So I believe they're giving away some books. I think by the time that this actually, I think they're wrapping it up next week.
All right.
So
looks very cool, but at the same time, I got to say, like, there's absolutely no way it is that easy for those awesome groups.
This is a really
like
simple.
ICE and everybody else that like go in there.
This is just practice.
Yeah, I see. So this isn't like if you were to open up, I don't know, like insert name of big corporate program, maybe Photoshop, for example, .exe. Doubt you're going to see the source code.
No, probably
Okay.
not.
So maybe that's the next chapter.
We have and it goes into some high level stuff. There's some more tools that I found here at this website, and all these sites will be in the show notes.
Great.
And just different types of disassemblers, decompilers, hex editing, things like that. And that's for the more advanced stuff that you'll find at crackmes.de.
And crackmes.de is where you would find more of these cracks?
A lot more, almost 1,900 of them.
Wow. So you could really go from like, the intermediate to the advanced and start...
And I go to Lay's here, and you see how if over here, these ones are solved, and it says who solved it. So there's a lot of ones out there.
Oh, wow, there's unsolved
Yeah, there's a lot of unsolved
great.
ones. It even goes back. I mean, this is 17 January. This is kept pretty, pretty up to date.
You know what?
So.
Decompiling EXEs and hex editing, searching for strings and stuff really sounds like a great way to spend a rainy afternoon. No joking. Seriously, it sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I know that just from personal experience, keygens have always been a near and dear thing to my heart because it's like magic the way that they work. And best of all, you get that leak keygen music. So,
and
of
here
course,
it is.
you can pick that up over at keygenmusic.net, one of my favorite sources. Not for it's part of the demo scene, I consider.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Music.
Well, Chris, thanks so much for coming by and showing us how to get our crack on.
Yep.
And,
no problem.
And of course, people can find out more about you and all the fun, crazy stuff you do.
ChrisGerling.com.
Because that's his name.
Yeah.
All right.
My name.
Well, let's listen to some keygen
I guess
music.
we'll just jam out here.
What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to show you how to hook up your Rock Band drums to your PC so that you can get a little free play on whenever you want, create your own drum tracks, and basically show off to your friends on how awesome you are on your Rock Band drums. First part of the little hack here is we have to install the drum drivers, which are not provided by Microsoft. However, they are provided by another guy. You can go to his blog. It's at dxprog.com. He's got the drivers. He's actually created a batch script for you guys so you can just run it, install the drivers, plug in the Rock Band drums, and you're good to go. The second part of this comes out of Andrew Rudson, who has created a very nice application that he's keeping updated pretty regularly. He actually just released an update yesterday. But what this is it's going to require that you have the Hack drum driver installed. It's going to require that you have the latest version of DirectX 9C installed, or else it's not going to work. Your Rock Band drums must be plugged in before you actually start the application. And from there, we can actually open it up, and you've got your drums on your computer. Now, basically, I've already got the drums installed, and what we're going to do is, if you open up the menu here, you've got free play. You can assign the pads different sounds. You've got record and playback. So you can actually record your drum track, trade it with your friend, and see if he can make it any better, and he could play it back on his PC if he's got the drums as well. Now, the nice thing about this is we can just go ahead and hear in a free play, and you could play drums to your heart's content, to your fingers bleed, or till your leg falls off. Really doesn't matter. You no longer have to have your drums hooked up to your Xbox to just wail on some drums. Do whatever you want. The other part of Rock Band drum hackery is I actually broke my Rock Band drums the first time that I had them, and yes, I was wailing on them. I apparently am the drummer for the Hak5 Rock Band group. Paulie is catching up quickly, though, so I'm going to have to smack him down. I actually broke the pad on the yellow and red drum pads. And thought of this idea here is get a mouse pad. Not an overly thick mouse pad because you're going to be missing hits, but a mouse pad nonetheless. This one here is probably be about 1/8 of an inch thick. And you just go ahead and cut it out in the diameter of the drum pad. And you're probably going to want to cut it so you can still see the colors in case you have people coming over that don't know exactly where all the colors are at. And some people have suggested that you glue it onto the drum pads. Why glue? Packing tape has worked since we got Rock Band a week after it came out with these drums, and they have not faltered yet. So it also makes it sound and feel a little bit easier. Your sticks pop off the drums a little easier, and from there you've got protected Rock Band drums that you're not going to have a problem with breaking. For more tips like this, go over to Hak5, hit the forums, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. So, every once in a while a device comes along where you say to yourself, you know, if I could just get into that, I'm sure I could have a lot of fun. Well, here to tell us what he's found as just such a device is Darren. Darren, what's going on, man?
Hey, thanks for having me on the show.
No problem.
So yeah, this little fawn router here has definitely tickled my technolust, and I gotta say right off the bat that this is all inspired by an article I read over at room362.com. Highly recommended.
That is the website of our friend Mubix.
That would be correct.
Okay.
Yeah, Mubix, the big guy that I just kind of stand in the shadow of. He's so awesome. I mean, he blocks the sun.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. So, thanks, Mubix. And this is basically the fawn router. Is from fawn.com, and it's a very inexpensive little router that you can pick up for $40 at their site. That that allows you to share your internet with the public at large.
And in turn, you have free...
In turn, you get free access to any other fawn. So the way it works is they send you this little box here, and it has one Ethernet jack, and it's got an Atheros chipset for a wireless here. And by default, out of the box, you plug it into the to your tubes, whether you've got an existing router or you just plug it into your DSL cable, whatever. And it will go ahead and create two wireless networks, two SSIDs. One's fawn _ whatever, and that's the public one. And then there's the MyPlace network that it creates, which is the one for you, which is WPA encrypted with the password being by default the serial number on the bottom of the device.
Okay.
So that's.
But we're not going to do that.
No, you see, by default it runs OpenWRT, which you would think would be nice.
Great.
It's a little locked down.
Okay.
No SSH access. No ability to do some fun stuff, especially with that chipset in there. You could probably do some fun stuff.
Okay.
So we're going to do some fun stuff with it in part 2, but for right now, we need to prep the turkey.
We need to get into it.
That's what we need to do.
All right.
So we're going to replace the firmware on this bad boy. And the first thing we need to keep in mind is do not, I repeat, do not plug it into the internet.
Yeah, you did just that.
Well, I turned what would be a $40 hack into a beautiful $80 hack because Mr. Genius here plugged it into the internet and it got its little update on, and now it's got the new version of the software, which is a PETA to hack.
So basically what we're saying is don't plug it in, but in the show notes we're going to have information on how to, depending on which firmware version you've got, how to actually get back into it, just in case you went ahead and plugged it into tubes and it auto-updated itself.
Now, by default, what normally comes out of the box is, as you can see here, firmware version 0.7.1 release 1.
Okay.
Okay, there's a hack, very simple hack for release 1. There's also a very simple hack for release 2. And this one updated himself to release 3, which has a very convoluted hack with very mixed results, and for me, it just did not work.
Okay.
Okay. But I've got links to all of those possible ways to get in, and I'm going to demonstrate the very easiest way. There are several different sites that have walkthroughs on how to get this guy opened up. First being over at the OpenWRT wiki, they have a great and huge article that explains how to get into this guy over SSH, and once you're in there, how to upload the new firmware by entering the the hex values, and it gets really convoluted, very cross
not
your
user
fingers.
friendly.
Yeah, not so much. So then there's an easy article over at Room 362, and then there's over at Useless Hacks. They have a great little article that does basically the same thing using HFS web server and a couple other tools, and I'll have all of these links in the show notes to these different methods. But the method I'm going to be talking about is the super easy method. It's 2 steps. It's called break in and upload new firmware using a GUI.
GUIs.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So how do we do that?
Well, the way that the fawn works is that within the first 10 seconds of booting up, it has a piece of software in here called Redboot, which is a boot manager that listens on this little serial port here for 10 seconds. And if you can telnet in through the serial port within that 10 seconds and issue a Control-C to just kind of break it, you can go ahead and issue your own commands and replace the firmware.
Great.
But we don't have a serial cable.
No.
Because this isn't a normal serial cable. Well, this is normal, but it's not like you could just plug it directly into your PC. Your PC uses like plus and minus 12 volts, whereas this guy is expecting 3.3 volts.
Okay.
You can get, I believe it's called a TTL, I'm not positive on that, but there's a converter, there's a special cable. It's very similar to the cables that you would have to go from like USB to your cell phone nowadays.
Okay.
But I didn't have that cable laying around, so what we want to do is just tell Redboot, hey, wouldn't you mind just listening on the Ethernet port as well? Because then I can telnet in.
That'd be a lot easier.
Yeah.
All right.
So I've got this. So what we do is we set them up on a switch or use a
crossover cable.
Use a crossover cable, and we need to go ahead and enable SSH so we can replace the kernel and replace the Redboot configuration.
Okay.
So to do that, what we need to do is, if you're using the R1 firmware, it's so super simple. There's a file here called sshEnable.html, and if I take a look at the code here, all it really does is it's a form with method of post. The action is to this connection.sh file over on the web server, and the value that it's sending is /etc/init.d/dropbear.
Okay.
That's it. It just enables SSH. It's so freaking super simple.
All right.
That's on R1. If you have R2, the hack uses they've kind of like locked that one down. The other alternative hack is to tell it to use a different DNS server that then does the same kind of thing when it goes to register with Radius.
Okay.
It's a little bit more complicated, but it's not too difficult because some people have made it pretty easy with a hacked server already for you.
Okay.
Okay. And then if you've got release 3, there's a very convoluted method using a second router and some crazy DNS stuff, and I won't even get into it, but it's not.
All right.
It's not too easy.
So we run the file.
Yes.
It enables SSH.
Yeah, so if I go ahead and pull up that file here, it just looks like this. I click submit, and as long as I'm connected to it, it will go ahead and enable SSH.
Okay.
To which I can go ahead and pull up PuTTY and log in to 192.168.10.1, which is its default IP. This is all while you're connected to it, either over the Ethernet or over the My Place.
The private
SSID,
network.
the private network.
Okay.
Yes. So I've already hacked this one, so what we're seeing here is the OpenWRT splash. You would see a similar one and be like, oh, fawn, So that's how you get into it, and then all you need to do from there is issue a few commands that will allow you to replace the Redboot configuration. So all you have to do is copy over these 2 files, out.hex, which is the Redboot configuration, and you need a replacement for the VM Linux, the kernel. So in this case, it's OpenWRT for AR531 2.4 kernel, VM Linux, blah, blah, blah. You SCP those files over, or if you want to run a web server locally and use wget when you're SSH'd in, that'll work as well.
Okay.
You just need to get those files over. You issue these 2 commands. It replaces the kernel. It replaces the Redboot config. You restart the guy, and in the first 10 seconds of booting up, he starts looking for telnet on port 9000.
Okay.
Okay. So now we can go ahead and use our GUI rather than doing all the crazy convoluted, like, here's the hex entries of the memory addresses where we want to root. No.
So some German guys wrote a GUI for it,
Yes.
which makes it entirely simple.
Exactly.
A couple clicks and it's done.
Yeah, there's this great site that I will link to in the show notes. It's all in German. Ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch, aber es ist nicht so gut. So, but it's at least the program's in English enough to understand it. You
Great.
pretty much fire this bad boy up, and it's so simple. You just check the file that you want for your root file system.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in this case, we're going to flash this guy with OpenWRT. This also works with DDWRT, but OpenWRT is a lot more fun for what we're going to be doing in part 2. So we're going to send it the squashfs file for the Aetheris 2.6. I think this is Kamikaze's latest version of OpenWRT.
Okay.
We're going to choose the checkbox for the kernel and choose our kernel here. It's the Aetheris 2.6.
Okay.
And then we choose which adapter we're connected to it on. I did this over a switch. You could do it with a crossover cable. Either way, so you choose your adapter, you unplug your router, you plug it back in, you click go, it connects to it, it replaces the firmware, and about 20 minutes later, you now have an unlocked FON.
So make sure that they know 20 minutes, maybe a little less, maybe a little longer, but it is doing something.
Yeah, it's a slow process. In fact, when I first SCP'd over the out.hex and the replacement kernel, for a 512K file, it took like a minute and a half.
Okay.
So it's pretty
no
slow at
speed
first.
demon, but it is working and it's doing its thing. So
Yes.
Okay.
Now, once you've got your OpenWRT on here that's unlocked, you should be able to telnet into it and set a root password, because by default, and this is what it looks like, by default it does not have a root password set. So you just need to go ahead and telnet into that bad boy, run passwd, enter in your new password, and bam, you're good to go. From there, you can enable Wi-Fi. And I've got all of these in the show notes, but basically pull up PuTTY or your favorite SSH client, go ahead in here and issue these commands to enable the Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Make sure that you verify that it's running, so go ahead and pull up whatever OS you have to
So you can see the actual wireless network.
So I can see it by default. The SSID is OpenWRT.
Okay.
And then go ahead and verify that the clients work. So SSH in, issue WLAN config ATH0 list. It'll list what clients are connected to it, and then bam, you're good to go.
We should note that also there is no web server front end for the new OpenWRT.
No, not by default.
Not by default.
But we were going to be doing lots of fun stuff like that in the part 2. And there's something else that was important to note here. And that is, the configuration for it is super simple. It's all in /etc/config. There's a file for network. There's a file for wireless. I'll have links to the OpenWRT wiki pages that explain how to change this. It's really super simple. I mean, it just says, this is the SSID, and you just replace it. And this is the IP range. You just replace it. Bam.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds great. So we have a brand new, non-updated version of the FON that we are going to play with next month.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go.
Great. All right, Darren.
Well, let's go get a little hack snack.
Yes.
Have you ever been on a public computer and not had access to Internet Explorer or Firefox? Well, we have a solution for you. If you open up Calculator and go into the Help section under Help Topics, once it loads, you right-click on the title bar, and you'll see an option, Jump to URL. And you can put any URL you want in there. And we have one we're going to throw in there. And voila, Hak5 forums. For more tips like these, check out the tips forum at forums.hak5.org.
All right, well, last month's trivia question was the following. The NEC V20 processor, a 29,000 transistor CPU, was reverse engineered to be pin compatible with what Intel chip?
That was correctly answered by Trinitron X. Kind of interesting about that chip was it was not only pin compatible with the 8088, but it was also instruction set compatible with the 8186, and supposedly ran about 30% faster than Intel's own stuff. So it's kind of like the AMD of the time, you know?
So you got to imagine reverse engineering, and I'm going to make better an Intel chip.
See, if you just keep up with the Crackmes, you might be doing that too.
There you go.
All right.
All right, this month's trivia question happens to be, oddly enough, about Rock Band. The indie synth new wave band Freeze Pop has been featured in many music games, including Harmonix's Rock Band. Which game was the first to feature this Boston-based band. And you can send your answers to trivia@hak5.org.
You see all that talk about freeze swap now makes me want to go play some brain power.
Brain power. How about expert? All right, for all of those network administrators who are concerned about miscellaneous computers, ports open on their networks, Will Coppola is here with us to help alleviate your fears and know exactly what's running on your network. Will, how's it going, buddy?
Very good, very good.
All right, so what do we got today?
What we're doing is we're going to demo a piece of software called inprotect, which is more or less a front end for Nessus and nmap.
Okay. Who is the primary target for this software?
Network administrators or just about anybody who's interested in their own security on their own network.
Okay. So why do we need this? For somebody who, working with the network every day, why do we need this instead of not, going through and just knowing what we've already got on our network?
Well, it's centralized. You can sit at one PC, whatever your terminal is at work, and then scan all your machines on your subnet. Okay. And it sure beats going to every machine and physically touching it.
Definitely. So this package includes Nessus.
Yes, sir.
What else?
It also includes nmap.
Okay.
You can also compile this from source and include Hydra as another tool that you can incorporate in here. We're not going to incorporate Hydra into the scan, though.
Okay. But we do have it up and running in a VM.
That's correct.
What are the different ways? I mean, you can do it in VM. Can you do it, on a live CD or whatever?
You can download the Network Security Toolkit live CD.
Okay.
They also have a VM. Everything's pre-compiled inside the live CD and the VM, and all you have to do is just get your settings correct, and you're ready to roll.
All right. So let's go through and take a look at this and what it can actually do for network administrators and making their lives a little easier.
Basically, you're introduced into it. You have to go to the settings panel.
Okay.
And you have inprotect settings. You would fill in the URL for a Nessus where you can download that if you don't already have an update. The file name, which you're going to grab, the URL for the plugins, the plugin file names, the MD5, which is also a good thing because you want to make sure that it's actually the correct file.
Right.
The SIG file names, and you can also have it set up to send email alerts to another network administrator. Maybe he's on a remote location or something.
Okay.
So after your settings are correct, you want to go ahead and perform a scan.
Okay.
Really simple. You schedule a new scan, give it a name, save it, add some hosts, which we've already done this once earlier.
So we can do ranges?
Yes.
Okay.
This is probably not going to take the range that I've installed, but after you've got your range set up, you're scanning inside your network. It does take a while for it to scan. It'll sit in the background, and it'll inform you when the scans are finished.
Okay.
But as your scans are finished, you can check the status of them by going to this page and then selecting which scan you're running, either it be Nessus or nmap. Currently, they say they're at 67%. We'll continue to let them go through.
Okay. Now, can we look at reports while they're scanning of what it's currently found, or do we have to wait for it to complete before we can actually view those?
I would wait till it completes. I'm sure there is a way that you can view by checking out the tail of the commands and everything like that you can do. I would wait for it to actually finish, but you can do an HTML dump or a PDF dump. Okay. So we've got a Nessus scan that we performed earlier, and we will check out the HTML of it, and it gives you pie charts and tells you either your serious vulnerabilities or whatever it's found. And in this case, it's found 86% info and 14% as a low. Okay. It gives you the IP addresses of the boxes that you've scanned. Okay. And it gives you detailed reports about what it's found.
Oh, nice.
This IP address here, it has found NetBIOS open, and of course, it's identified as Microsoft due to the 445 port. And if I was actually a registered Nessus user, it would give me full details and info about this.
Okay, so what we're saying is this is something that to get all the features and functionality of, we actually have to pay for.
That is correct.
Okay. But it is free to try and see what it's like, and then if you want to, you can go ahead and...
Right, it'll give you an idea of what's vulnerable on your system. May it be a false report or not, but gives you a concept of what vulnerabilities you may have.
Okay, great. So we've got our scan results. It gives us, what the PCs that we've scanned on the network have vulnerabilities for. Now, does this only work for PCs, or is it going to go through any network device that may have a vulnerability and look at it?
It'll scan routers or just about any machine that you have. As long as it has an IP address, it can be scanned.
Okay, great. And the setup for it, how difficult is that if somebody wanted to, you said that there's a live CD and stuff like that, but if they wanted to, are there instructions someplace that we can go to say, I want all this custom stuff in here, and then build it?
Most definitely. Okay. There's walkthroughs for the live CD. There's walkthroughs for the VM. There's even walkthroughs if you want to compile it from scratch for your own personal use. Okay.
Well, great. Let's see, whose machine was that? I think that was Chris's. I think we're going to have to let him know that he's got some problems going on.
NetBIOS is not a good thing to share.
Yeah. Well, all right, so will go ahead and put all the information in the show notes for us so that you guys can download Nessus, that you can download inprotect and everything else, and he's also going to have the configuration links in the show notes. Will, thanks so much, buddy.
Not a problem.
All right. Now, back to you.
A few episodes ago, I showed off a little program called Packet Builder to allow you to create installation packages. I believe it was for a segment on VNC. Well, to my surprise, I found out that there was actually a program built into Windows that'll do basically the same thing. Really simple. You don't need to pay for anything. It's called Iexpress 2.0. It's built into Windows. You just start run, type Iexpress. You get this great little wizard, and it allows you to create a quick little package. So we're just going to go ahead and create one here for the fawn hack that we just showed. So we'll create a self-extracting file here, and we're just going to tell it to extract the files and run the installation program. And then we're going to give it a title, so I'm going to call it fawn hack or something like that. And then you have the options to give it a prompt, and you can prompt users with different text. We're going to say no prompt. And you also have the option to throw in a license, like if you're releasing something under the GPL or something, no license. And then we get here, add the package files. I just got those on my desktop here. These are the fawn GUI hack utility, as well as the file system and new kernel. So I'll go ahead and select those. And then all I have to do is choose what installation program. It's the only executable. Select this program. And then I can select something to do post-installation. I don't have anything for that. And then here's where I get the options, whether I even want to show a window or make it completely hidden. So that's kind of cool. And then, of course, we have our finished message. You're like, thanks for using the program. I don't know. I'm just going to leave it blank. And then we go ahead and have the option to let it know where to save this. And I'm going to choose to hide the extraction progress. Let's say next. I have to give it a name. I'm going to call it fawn hack. Next. And no restart after the installation finishes. And we don't want to save this for later use. Bam. It does its thing. And bam. There we go. Finished. And now I have my fawn hack exe. I double click on that. It does it all in the background. And makes my installation really simple, and now I got my program up. So there you have it. If you want more tips like this, head over to forums.hak5.org and click on tips. We'll see you there.
If you want to make an impact online, GoDaddy.com has what you need. .com names as low as $1.99, plus world-class hosting, fast and easy website builders, and much more. Plus, as a fan of Hak5, enter code HAK3, that's H-A-K and the number 3, and get your .com domain name for just $6.95 a year. Get your piece of the internet at GoDaddy.com.
Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go.
All right, guys, well, I'm here for this month's hack, and basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix all your guitar problems that you may have, and we all do. If you have Rock Band, you've got guitar problems. It's that simple. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the only permanent way that I know to fix your Rock Band guitar. I've already cracked it open here. Basically, you just take out all the screws that you can possibly see, lift off the back plate, and here we have the inside of the Rock Band guitar. Now, for those of you that don't know and have never actually seen inside of this, basically there's two parts that are the problem. They are the pickups for the up and down strum on the guitar when you're actually playing it. Now, the reason that you have double hits, you have missed hits, or you have actually no pickups whatsoever is because the person that designed this came up with the most insane design for, can you get a shot of this, Darren? The most insane design for a pickup system ever. Okay. Now, in the Guitar Hero 3 and all the other Guitar Hero series of guitars, they actually use a switch. It's not like the ones that we're going to use today. However, it's close enough. And this is, you've heard of the rubber band tricks. You've heard of the put Scotch tape on it. It eventually always fails. Okay. So what we're going to do today is we're going to show you how to fix your guitar with Rock Band once and for all. Over here, we've got our list of tools. We've got your screwdrivers of different sizes on either ends, your big and your small. And there's certain screws that are going to require the smaller one, but for the most part, you can probably get away with the larger screwdriver. We've got our solder, our soldering iron, in this case, a portable cold heat unit, pair of pliers, snips, and an X-Acto knife. Okay. If you are scared to strip the leads right here on the pickups, you can use a nice little thing, but I don't need that. So what we're going to do is, first I'm going to show you where things should look when you open up your guitar. Now basically, I've already got this side done here, and you can see kind of what we're going to do. The main issue that we have with the way that this is right now is when you hit this, for whatever reason I cannot get it on there. When you hit this, it's twisting this entire assembly, and that's not what we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually remove the screw that's associated with this part right here. You're going to take it off, just like this, and you're going to be left with this. What we're going to do is we're just going to snip this end right off. Okay? There it goes. Now, before I actually get into cutting the shielding off the wire, I'm going to show you what we actually bought for $4. Okay? This is a sub-mini lever switch that you can buy at your local Radio Shack store. It costs about $3.50. Okay? This switch is going to be the answer to all of our problems. Buy two of them, one for the up and one for the down. Okay? Once you get that, essentially, we're pretty much good. What we're going to do now is we're going to actually take off the strum bar. There's 4 screws in the corner of the strum bar, and we're just going to take that off right now because we actually need to trim some of the plastic. Now, I didn't give you a warning at the beginning of this segment because I figured you probably would have already understood this will void your warranty. You will not be able to return this to EA, but if you want a permanent fix, because there are complaints on the Rock Band forums that even returned guitars that EA has shipped other people are failing yet again. So this is going to be the answer to all your problems. Basically, you can see here the difference in the sides. These two sides used to look identical. Okay? Now, this is the side that, how it comes from EA. This is the side that we've modified. Basically, we've made it almost entirely flat as possible as we could. And that's going to allow for clearance of the new switch to go in place. Okay? So what I'm going to do right now is I'm actually just going to take these snips and I'm going to cut all of this away. All right, well, we're back. Finally, we were done cleaning up the pickup, the strum bar for the Rock Band controller. And in here you can see exactly where we did the cleanup. We basically flattened it out as much as we possibly could so that it looks similar to the other side that we've already proof of concepted, okay? And basically the entire reason that we're doing this is to make room for the new switch that is going to actually detect when you're actually strumming the guitar. So now what we need to do is we need to do one other modification to the guitar, and that's going to be on the holder for the screw where the old pickup bar used to be. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to eyeball about 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little less. And we're just going to take our snips and we're going to come in here as flat as we possibly can, and we're just going to snip a little bit off. Try and clean it up as best as you can. Alright. The new switch that we're actually adding is a lot. I shouldn't say a lot. It adds some height to the overall profile of the unit, so we need to trim that down a little bit. Here you can see the one that we've already done, and basically this is the switch here. Okay, the screw that's in there does not come with the screw, with the switch. It's a simple wood screw that you can buy at any Home Depot, Lowe's, or wherever your local hardware store is, and it simply protrudes out a little bit, just enough so that we can actually anchor it into the holding point for the screw on the previous unit. What we're going to do now is we're actually going to put in the strum bar once again, and it only goes in one way. We're going to take our 4 screws that came out of it, and we're going to put these back in here. There we go. All right. Okay. Our lever switch is a little wide, so we're going to take the component here, and once again we're going to trim it without breaking the entire unit off as best as we can. I'm sorry for the bad camera work. I do apologize. You're going to want to take, once again, about 1/8 of an inch off of this entire unit here. Okay? It may sound like a lot, and I probably should be taking this off right about now, but we can sweat through it. And just make it about as flat as you possibly can. I think that's good. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to screw the assembly down. The last thing that you need to do is, once you've got it in and you've got both pickups hitting just where you want them, we actually need to solder the old connections onto the new switch. And what we've got here is we've got a continuity tester. Basically, you can find it on any of your standard multimeters. We're going to go ahead and set it to when the circuit is closed, it's actually going to emit an audible tone. That lets me know that, hey, the switch is working. Now, I already know that when depressed, these two should sound off. When we let go, nothing. Remember that this is a 3-way switch. Even though it's not being pressed, the outer connection points close the circuit. We want the inner two. So use a tester to make sure that you're actually soldering the right ones. From there, we're actually just going to take a knife, because that's the way I like to do things, and we're going to strip. Kids, please do not try this at home as far as using a knife. Okay, now that we've got the bare metal exposed, it's as simple as soldering on the connection points to
our new switch. Okay. Make sure you guys leave yourself enough that your solder is actually going to connect with the switch here. All right, turn your soldering iron on. And solder away. What we're going to do, just make sure that they're tight. And they are. Tuck them back in where they're supposed to go. Just like that. Actually, we'll tuck this one underneath. Now remember, this is the only time you will have to do this mod. Right here, we've got a 100% will never break again Rock Band guitar mod. Put the shell back on, close it up, and you guys are good to go. Item numbers, my own thoughts and comments, and pictures of these different steps will all be in the show notes for you guys. So if you have any questions, feel free to post on the forums, visit the show notes, or I'm usually in the IRC chat. And you guys can ask me any questions if you actually want to fix your own Rock Band guitar. All right, so you know what, Darren? I just want to say something right off the bat. Free beer is great.
Free as in beer?
Where can I get free beer?
You can get free beer at the Podcasters Meetup.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's happening alongside ShmooCon on February the 15th.
Which we're going to be at.
Yeah, as well as SecThis, Paul.com, Security Weekly, and Sploitcast.
Excellent.
So you can come out and meet us.
Very nice. And the Podcasters Meetup is actually being put on by our good friend, Tall Ape, Mubix. Mubix. So come out, see us, see everybody else, and if you don't have a ticket to ShmooCon,
you don't need one.
You don't need one.
Podcastersmeetup.com is where all the details on. RSVP over at upcoming.org. We're even doing a live show from there.
From ShmooCon or
from the Podcasters Meetup.
So we're doing 2 live shows.
Yeah, no, just one from the Podcasters Meetup. It's going to be the ShmooCon Podcasters Meetup. Crazy. And dude, he's got some giveaways. They're like hundreds of dollars. Crazy, awesome giveaways.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So come and get your swag on.
And your drink on.
Acting and drinking. So.
All right.
For those of age.
Excellent.
Yeah. So let's see what else is going on before we get out of it. I noticed Wes is obviously doing something way more exciting than Hak5 with us this month.
He is.
So I'm assuming he's probably like taking down the Death Star, or maybe like riding on a Brontosaurus, or.
Now, unfortunately, Wes is currently working his ass off in Colorado, so he's not here. Couldn't do the show, but we will definitely see him at ShmooCon.
Sweet.
So
looking forward to that.
Definitely.
So so that pretty much wraps up this episode of Hak5, which of course we need to mention is totally supported by our sponsors. We couldn't do them without them, and one in particular is DreamHost. If you head over to dreamhost.com, you can sign up and get web hosting with 500 gigabytes of storage. Think about how much you could back up on that. 5 terabytes of monthly storage. And I always mention this cool feature called one-click installs. And we have a bunch of people like asking, what is that actually? So I'm here in the little admin panel, and all you do is you choose WordPress, or you choose, what's another good one? I like Joomla or PHPBB, and you just come down here, you select your database, and then you say, install it for me, and bam.
It does it.
It's like 5 minutes later, you get an email from the happy robot over at DreamHost, and they're like, oh yeah, your stuff's set up. I just set up a WordPress over at DarrenKitchen.com.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing how far we've come in technology, beer and hacking.
And automated robots.
Automated robots that email you when they're done.
As long as the robots don't take our beer, we are in heaven.
Yes.
It's a good society we live in.
Exactly.
All right. So I guess without further ado, this is Darren and Shu reminding you
to trust your technolust.
You're an idiot. Don't. No. You looked at me. Just there, you looked at me. You're not a crackhead. Get out of here. Go. 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 Go.
Boom, 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 boom. I lick on sucking balls and chocolate balls.
Mic check, 1, 2.
And browsing the internet with your calculator.
This
All
time.
that and a whole lot more. This time. On Hak5. Just watch the show.
Just, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's do techno sluts.
Okay.
Oh,
Can I pull the portal gag again?
How was that, Paul?
I called you sir. Did you catch it?
Yeah, I did.
Problem is, you know what the problem is, guys? This freaking wall right here. We need to knock down the wall between the kitchen and the living room, and we would have.
I'll get right on that. Shit's going down.
All right, just knock down the wall. All right.
Suck it up, suck it up, suck it up, suck it up, baby.
Beer and hacking.
Beer and hacking. Beer and hacking.